When I uploaded a visually stunning showcase of power a while ago, I had no idea that you'd love it so much. So regardless, today at ViniiTube, we're taking a look at some more visually stunning showcases of power. In case you missed the previous list, the link will be down below. Now, let's get started, shall we? Can't have a list of visually stunning showcases of power without having a moment from Dragon Ball. The show literally has so many moments like that you could make an entire list from it. This moment in particular is when Gogeta fought against Broly. Back when I was a child, I'd always wondered how a fight between Gogeta and Broly would play out, since who wouldn't want to see something so insane? And honestly, after so many years of following Dragon Ball, this fight, it really was spectacular. The fight kicks off with explosive energy, literally. The screen fills with vibrant, almost blinding colors as the two Saiyans unleash their full might against each other. Each punch, each blast, it's accompanied by a shockwave that feels like it could level entire planets. And let's not forget the choreography on this one, okay? Gogeta's moves are fluid and precise, while Broly's attacks are wild and primal, and it's such a great contrast to watch. The moment when Gogeta transforms into Super Saiyan Blue is pure eye candy, with the power radiating off him in waves of electric blue that contrast beautifully with Broly's raging green aura. The visuals are so stunning that you actually almost forget to breathe. I believe we can all agree that there's no better showcase of power than through a badass transformation, and here we have Black Asta against Ladros in Black Clover. For some background now, Ladros is one of the strongest people in Diamond who can absorb just about anything. But he was up against an MC whose primary power is the power of friendship and never giving up, all that with a badass demonic form as the cherry on top. The visually stunning bit in this fight was from Ladros' attacks, while Black Asta cleaving through them was the showcase of power. You know the villain is screwed when the narrator comes along to describe the power-up. I especially love the moment when we saw a silhouette of Asta with red eyes and flames behind him. It sent shivers down my spine. And let's be honest, when your enemy gets glowing red eyes along with a demonic wing, it's probably a good time to rethink your life choices, or at least consider a career change. The next moment on this list is probably something you've already heard at least once. I say heard because the sound effects are eargasmic. I know that's not actually a word, but it should be. Anyway, the moment I'm talking about is when Benimaru, our local Fire Force Giga Chad, uses Crimson Moon. Demon Infernos are a pain for anyone to fight against, considering their durability and power, but Benimaru makes this one look like a piece of cake. Despite having a teensy bit of trouble initially, it doesn't take long to defeat the Inferno when our boy gets serious. This moment is definitely one of the shortest on the list, but that doesn't take away the fact that this is absolute eye candy. Fire Force already has some gorgeous visuals with all the flames. The Crimson Moon attack is definitely amongst the top 10 attacks in the anime. Other than decimating a Demon Inferno instantly, it looks and sounds perfect. And let's be real, when your finishing move is so cool that it stops the background music, you know you've reached peak anime status. Next up, we have the moment when Alucard releases his restraints in Hellsing. You know a guy's OP when he has to have his true power sealed off by different levels of restraints, and you can guess how awesome it is when all the restraints are unleashed, and that's exactly what Alucard does at this moment. The moment is iconic, a feast for the eyes that blends pure horror with breathtaking animation. The sheer scale of the release is awe-inspiring as thousands of souls begin materializing all around our Count Dracula, all ready to do his bidding. The animation captures every detail, from the glint of Alucard's crimson eyes to the details of every one of his minions. It's a scene that's both terrifying and mesmerizing, a true testament to the mind-melting power Alucard wields. So I guess we know what's scarier than an army of soldiers hell-bent on taking over the world. That's right, an army of undead led by Count Dracula himself. Opponents who can regenerate are normally a pain in the butt, but things go a little bit differently when Lloyd fights against Guisame. For starters, Guisame is a demon lord with insane regeneration and immense strength, but our protagonist has watched a little too much Naruto. I say that because he pulls out a whole bunch of chibi clones to fight against the demon lord. I'll be honest, the fight literally just consists of Lloyd wailing on Guisame as he continues to regenerate, only to be pummeled some more. The animation is gorgeous as the two duke it out, but the best part, by far, is how the animation switches between chibi style and normal style. It's almost like a callback to Mob Psycho with the vibrant colours and dynamic visuals. Well, that is until Lloyd ends the fight by unleashing Void, because why not go out with a bang? And let's be real, if your biggest problem in a fight is deciding between using your regular form or your adorable chibi form, you know you've got style points to spare. The Lloyd vs Guisame fight had a pretty nice comedy factor, but things get serious with the next moment on this list when Wang Ling from the daily life of an immortal king goes berserk. When the Shadow Faction leader assaults Sun Rong in front of Wang Ling and forces her spirit out of her body, our boy simply loses it. Wang Ling displays the full extent of his rage as he breaks free from frozen time and begins a brutal onslaught. I absolutely loved how the animation went with this and the fury Wang Ling displayed. The Shadow Faction leader is tossed around large distances and their destruction is everywhere with each one of our boy's attacks. It's literally just a loop of Wang Ling screaming and destroying the villain. The Chinese anime certainly proved itself with outstanding visuals. The animation was crisp and flashy. Next up, we have Fern vs Lugna from Frieren. Fern is a mage trained by none other than Frieren, whereas Lugna is a demon serving Aura the Guillotine. Now, keep in mind that Fern is much younger than Lugna, and yet she possesses astounding levels of power. One up against Lugna, Fern displays her prowess with magic as she counters the attacks thrown at her perfectly, and boy do those attacks look gorgeous. The animation is simply top notch. But honestly, you don't always need to have flashy moves to display your power. The thing I loved most about this fight was how calm Fern was. Her movements were minimal and highly calculated, even though she was facing off against an opponent she knew was pretty strong. Despite how the fight just became more intense as time passed, she never lost her grace and elegance. When a girl is elegantly overstepping your attacks, you know you picked the wrong opponent. Next, we have Denji vs Katana Man from Chainsaw Man. Never thought I'd see a fight between a guy who uses chainsaws and a guy who uses katana, but I guess that's the beauty of anime. And Denji is absolutely insane, so that just adds to this moment, I suppose. Katana Man has katanas coming out from his face and his arms, while Denji has chainsaws coming out from the same places. Both of them have great strength, durability, and nigh immortality. So how would Denji come out on top? Well, if you're facing off against 3 blades, why not up the number of chainsaws to 4? Oh well, wait, that's just because 2 of his arms got cut off, but at least it came with a boost of yapping. Both those devils go all out and the animation is just beautiful. From fighting on rooftops to fighting on top of and inside a train, the way the environments change is so fluid and spectacular. Not sure how I feel about our main heroes ending the fight with nutshots though, but hey, this show is as unhinged as it gets. Ragnar vs Ultimacia from Ragnar Crimson is next up on this list. We just had an entry where Wang Ling broke through frozen time, and this moment has something along the same lines, only much cooler. Now, Ragnar's beef with Ultimacia spans 2 timelines, as in the original, he almost turned him into a member of their bloodline. Ragnar had to stab himself in the heart to avoid turning himself into a superior dragon. As with all other dragons, Ragnar hates Ultimacia with a passion. Now, besides the durability and power inherent to her kind, Ultimacia also possesses time magic, the ability to stop, forward, and reverse it. Amongst the entries on this list, this one has the most badass points. When Ragnar initially fights Ultimacia, he destroys her again and again and again, all the while Ultimacia keeps rewinding time to fix herself. The amount of power Ragnar displays is awe-inspiring, and boy is the animation superb on this one. But by far the best part is once Ultimacia rewinds time for everyone and freezes Ragnar before he begins his onslaught. Our boy literally breaks through frozen time to attack her. It's just insane. Let's be real, when you're so stubborn that even time itself can't hold you back, you know you're winning every argument of family dinners. We all know dragons are the epitome of coolness and power. Their forms are so lordly yet horrifying that anyone would tremble from the mere sight of them. So it's no wonder that Issei's Juggernaut drive from High School DxD would be visually stunning as it copies the form of a dragon. The Juggernaut drive removes the seal placed on the heavenly dragons and unleashes a power that devours the lives and sanity of the users. The red dragon of domination, which possesses Issei, has one of the coolest designs around. It's like Iron Man merged with a dragon to give birth to one of the coolest mecha dragons in anime. The way the form is animated and the gorgeous attacks are like eye candy, as well as the power behind the attacks, honestly makes you feel bad for the bad guys. Who wouldn't be afraid when a giant indestructible dragon is lasering your arms off? Old anime aside, a recent anime, Wisteria, is certainly making waves with its gorgeous animation. This particular display is during the fight between Will, our protagonist, and Julius, one of the top students at Regarden Magical Academy. You know how this goes, right? A noble kid with some severe narcissistic tendencies messes with the protagonist, who proceeds to knock him down a peg or two. In this particular instance, Will shows that not having magic isn't too much of a problem against ice magic, as he cuts down Julius's attacks before ending the fight by punching him in the face. I'll be honest, I absolutely loved how there were minimal cuts during the fight and the camera simply panned out, showing Will crushing Julius's attacks. The choreography was insane, and it wasn't like the other shows where you can barely understand what's happening. Will's strength was a full-on display during this battle, and I'm sure he just flexed by going after each of Julius's clones before knocking the guy's teeth out. The Fate universe is huge, and with a ton of spectacular fights and with amazing showcase of powers, we had to choose one, so we'll go with the showcase of power from Saber as she uses Excalibur to defeat the wretched caster. During the Holy Grail War, when up against a monstrous caster, Saber channels all her mana into her legendary blade. As the blade lights up with an intense glow, the animation goes all out here. The beam of pure golden energy slicing through the night like a blazing comet, turning the darkness into daytime, looks absolutely gorgeous to watch. As Saber unleashes Excalibur, the sheer force of the attack is so immense that it feels like the world itself is trembling. The way the light of the attack gets bigger and starts rushing through everything in its path before eventually landing on caster displays its strength unlike any other. Fate Zero has a bunch of visually stunning moments, but this one took the cake by far. It's one of the moments that gives you chills and leaves you in awe. You know, whenever I speak of Madara, I can't help but get goosebumps. That man is... ugh. Any fan who's watched Naruto can vividly remember this moment when Madara faces off against the Ninja Alliance in the war that had everyone on the edge of their seats. After initially pummeling an entire army by himself, Madara proceeds to add an extra attack on top of everyone. He summons an entire meteor. I mean, Naruto has a lot of summoning jutsus, but who would think a freaking meteor would be summoned? Anyhow, the animation especially pans out to show you just how massive the meteor is. Our heroes quickly snap out of despair, and both Onoki and Gaara head up to try to stop the meteor from landing. They succeed in stopping it before Madara just didn't have enough fun, so he casually lands a second meteor on top of the first. That moment, it was just insane. Not even our heroes could fathom that amount of power. And how the heck are you supposed to stop 2 entire meteors? This was the first entry in our list that showcases the power of a villain, and boy is Madara deserving of it. One Punch Man combined with Harry Potter is what probably gave birth to the hilariousness of Mashle. I'm not even joking, you know. Mash is a dude who can't use magic but makes up for it with his mind-boggling physical abilities, and he shows off those during the fight against the Pariah. Initially, the evil eye holder looks to have an advantage as he continuously cuts up our boy with his blade, but the tables turn when the Pariah stabs him in the stomach. Now that might seem kinda off, but Mash's rock-hard abs aren't just for show. He uses his muscles to effectively trap the Pariah by locking his sword. Mash tanks a few more attacks before throwing the Pariah around through multiple walls. It's extremely satisfying and gorgeous to boot. The studio certainly didn't hold back when animating this gorgeous moment, and it shows, you know. Who'd have thought good old fists could trump actual magic? Better start working out, eh?
Electoria Spine. Secondo. Third. Fourth.
This season of My Hero Academia has had some spectacular animation. This particular moment of Deku activating the gear shift is by far amongst the best. While fighting with the main baddie Shigaraki, Deku has to pull out all the stops, or else the world will be doomed. So he does just that by using gear shift to change the speed at which things accelerate through space. It's a last resort kind of move since Deku was warned that it would incapacitate him in 5 minutes. Also, I guess Luffy would be very proud. All in all, despite being a relatively short moment, it looked absolutely gorgeous, and the power behind the gear shift was enough to cause Domura to spew out blood. And if Deku keeps this up, he might just need a speed limit for how he's making things happen fast. Okay, last time I didn't include anything from One Punch Man, and you were brutal about it. Ouch. Now, we know Mash is similar to Saitama, but nothing can possibly beat the original. Saitama is the strongest dude around by far. He's so strong that all other humans pale in comparison. But what about an alien warlord with extreme levels of power? When Saitama and Boros face off, we already know who's going to win, but Boros certainly puts on quite the spectacle. The entire fight is peak animation and has some of the best visuals I've ever witnessed. The flashiness and choreography are on a whole other level, and it's a lot like watching a rainbow of lights on steroids. It's also the perfect showcase of power as we watch Saitama tank all of the attacks from Boros, and yet all it takes Saitama to defeat this universal warlord is a serious punch. That's it, completely decimates our dude and turns him into a husk. As we reach the end of this list, we have a moment from Demon Slayer. Ufotable hasn't let us down yet with this crisp, clean and gorgeous animation we see in Demon Slayer, and this fight too speaks heavily in the studio's favour. Muichiro vs Gyoko was a fight that shifted from Muichiro almost dying to Gyoko being flayed like a fish. As the fight reaches its peak, Muichiro's steely mastery of his breathing technique allows him to slice through Gyoko's defences with a deadly precision that leaves you in awe. I only wish Rengoku could have gotten the Demon Slayer marks during this fight with Akaza, but that wasn't to be. The way Muichiro moved combined with the effects of the mist made it particularly gorgeous. It was a battle that not only highlights Muichiro's growth as a Hashira after he unlocked his potential, but also leaves a lasting impression with its breathtaking choreography. I just wish Gyoko had to put up more of a fight in the second half so I could have seen Muichiro in action for even longer. And honestly, when you're so cool even in the middle of a demon-infested nightmare, it's probably the demons who should be running. And with that, we're wrapping up the second volume of the best visually stunning showcases of power in anime. Now, even though this is a second list, I'm definitely sure there are many powers that I missed out on. Before you comment that any particular power is missing, don't forget to check out the previous video first. And if you have any recommendations or suggestions on what video I should make next, then feel free to comment down below as always, and I'll try and get around to it. That's all for today. See you next time.